go! For the final time, we are free! Ultimate contact! A terrible crash!
We're in it.
And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to race number 3 of the final season, Season 10 of the NNSCRA Snickers Cup Series, as we get ready for some Twilight racing here. Continuation on the West Coast, we are at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and we are getting ready for the Cobalt Tools 400. This is going to be a really exciting race, and if it's anything like Auto Club, these guys might be in for having to do some pit strategy if green flag pit stops come into play. There'll be 41 laps scheduled tonight. That extra lap, too, could be very, very important. We saw just how important those final few laps were last week at Auto Club when Dillon Poteet was able to get around Michael Norman for the victory. We'll see what's going to happen here tonight at Las Vegas. Coming into tonight's race, Trent Dunham still keeps the points lead, and I actually failed to mention last week that Trent Dunham actually worked his way up to a solid top 10 run from dead last. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here tonight. If he can work his way up from last to the top 10 at a speedway like Auto Club, Las Vegas not so much different. We'll see where he, based on the starting lineup and everything, where he starts and see if he'll be able to fight his way to the front, maybe pick up his second win in 3 weeks. And also another thing we have to keep an eye on is the Twinex boys. Already they're 2 for 2 with 2 of their drivers going to victory lane this season. Dunham winning the 500 and Dillon Poteet going to victory lane last week at Auto Club. But a former Snickers Cup Series champion, a 2-time Snickers Cup Series champion, I should say, John Cittadino sits on the pole position. He'll try and become the 3rd Chevy driver to win this season and try and get himself put into the hunt for this season's chase for the championship. Alongside of him, a guy who's just really been hitting some hardships lately, and that is Austin LaPlante in the 43. He ended up getting involved in an incident at Daytona. He ended up also getting involved in a wreck at Auto Club last week. It's been a very struggling start to the season for that team out of Richard Petty Motorsports, but he gets good track position to start tonight on the outside of row number 1. He is not a native of Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but the last time we were here last season, he picked up a victory here. Let's go down trackside as James McLeod is ready to give us the command to get this race underway.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Cars fire up, we're ready to go. As John Cittadino will lead him off. Austin LaPlante, then the points leader Trent Dunham, Michael Norman, who finished runner-up last week, and Seth Cole will complete the top 5. If the chase were to start now, right now, the 16 drivers that would be the chase contenders. So take a nice panoramic view here of Auto Club Speedway, and I hit the wrong key here. There we go. It would be Trent Dunham, obviously, with his win at Daytona. Dillon Poteet with his win at Auto Club, and then the other 14 drivers would be Charles Sanford, Michael Norman, Joshua Collard, Johnny Gardner, Kyle Matthews, Lyndon Wright, Doug E. Shears, Levi McIntyre, and Pichu London. Also Seth Cole, Joshua Michaels, Brandon Gonzalez, James Qualls, and rookie Austin Mongold would actually be the 16th driver in the chase for the championship, but it's still an awfully long ways to go before we can even start thinking about drivers in the chase for the championship. We can't even at this particular point confirm that Trent Dunham nor Dillon Poteet are going to be in this season's chase, because we could have more than 16 race winners this season before we even get to the start of the chase for the championship. But we're about to find out if we may add a potential new driver into the chase hunt. As the green flag is out, we are underway here at Las Vegas. There was a lot of passing that went on at Auto Club last week. Trent Dunham trying to go right to work on John Cittadino, who appeared to, I don't know if he slid up or if Trent Dunham got him arrow loose, whatever the case. Trent Dunham, man, he's had a fire lit underneath him this season. Ran strong at Daytona, used pit strategy at Auto Club, and now he's leading the way here at the very start of Las Vegas. They've gotten single file now amongst the top 5. Dunham, Cittadino, Seth Cole now up to 3rd, LaPlante in 4th. And in the 5th position right now, that is Dillon Poteet, last week's winner. So Twinex right out of the gate. 3 drivers up in the top 5 just at the completion of lap number 1. And now Seth Cole going to jump to the inside on John Cittadino. That is for the 2nd position. And the caution flag is out. Yellow flag for the first time. Very early yellow, which quite honestly doesn't surprise me. At this track, they can go 3 wide, and with them starting in double file formation, it's a lot more possibilities for drivers to run into trouble than it is when they have a single file restart. So Trent Dunham's going to get more bonus points his way with leading a lap here. And wow, there's a smoke screen on the back straightaway. Skid marks heading into 3. Let's see who was involved in this one. It's like Tim Walsh. I don't know if he was involved or not. Levi McIntyre. Brandon Gonzalez running here at the back. Looks like Levi's got some damage. Right side damage on the One Main Financial Ford. Levi comes into this race 10th in the point standings. Had a rather mediocre finish at Auto Club, and of course had that top 5 at Daytona. It looks like he's the only damaged machine. I'm trying to look. Oh wait, there's another car that. Well, there was a gap there, but apparently it wasn't a gap that necessarily meant anything. I think the only car coming to pit road is the One Main Financial Ford of Levi McIntyre, and they're going to get that car back out there. They're going to repair it as best they can, get him back out on track, salvage what they can. We may have just had a lot of cars spinning rather than cars slamming into each other, as they are going to get McIntyre back out, damage repaired on the right side, and he's good to go. So it looks like everybody's going to be able to get going here. Let's take a look at a replay of what happened. Well, we did not see it, but unfortunately, this is now about the caution, but heartbreak hitting the Hartlepool Chevrolet team out of Twinex Racing. Sean Galligan getting ready to roll off midfield, and something just happened in his car. I don't know what it was, but immediately, with rolling off pit road, you will see a big plume of smoke right there. Something exploding inside that car, internal injuries to that engine. And Sean Galligan didn't even make it to the green flag. He was not even scored, really, on the scoring monitor. They had Levi McIntyre, the last car, scored in 41st. So Sean Galligan, a tough break for him, doesn't even get to take the green flag to start this race. And this is a team that is not coming in too well situated in the point standings. They're 26th in the standings coming into today's race, 50 points out of the top position, and this is not going to help them in any way, shape, or form. The good news is that it's early on in the season, but for sure would have loved to have been able to been in the hunt for today's win. I'm sure would have Sean Galligan. So a tough break for him. Early exit out of the race for him. Now let's find out what initially actually brought out our first yellow of the day. Okay, it happened somewhere here, and this was actually right near the rear of the field as well. Oh, contact right there between some teammates. I think Actually, I think DJ Curtis made contact with Tim Walsh, and I think Brandon Gonzalez then made contact with Sean Henley. Henley then slides up into Levi McIntyre, clips the wall with the, well, I was going to say just the right rear, but he also pancakes the left side a little bit there too. And there you see Walsh spinning on the inside line, and on the apron also Brandon Gonzalez, the defending champion, and Levi McIntyre was really the only one that got significant damage out of that after he kind of pancaked the right side of his machine into the outside retaining wall, but looked like there were like 2 specific spots at the same time where contact was made. One between the Toyota teammates, the 20 and the 15, and then the second one between Brandon Gonzalez and Sean Henley, and Levi McIntyre just kind of caught up in the, I guess, the aftermath of all of that. So that's what put us under the caution flag near the rear of the field, fortunately, so nobody else getting involved, and basically everybody that did get involved able to continue. So we've dodged a bullet here at Las Vegas, at least for this first caution. Let's go back now for the restart. We've received the signal, 1 lap to green. Green will come back out on lap 7 of 41. Now, if we're going to continue a trend this season based off the first 2 races of the year, we ended up having a somewhat early caution at Daytona. After that, the race went clean and green to the end. At Auto Club, we had a wreck take place. I believe it was on lap number 2. And then we went clean and green after that restart all the way to the finish of that event. If the trend continues, we should be settling in for a green to checkered flag run starting at lap 7. But then again, this series is so unpredictable. But out in front, it is Trent Dunham over his teammate Seth Cole. John Cittadino is 3rd, 4th Austin LaPlante. Dillon Poteet, last week's winner, is in 5th. Chris Washer 6th. Joshua Collard runs 7th. Bob Jones 8th. His teammate lines up in 9th. And James Silverfox currently holds the 10th position. If you're Trent Dunham, I mean, right now we saw him go very aggressively for the lead at the very drop of the green flag. And quite honestly, I can't say I blame him. He's got 1 win in the bank with the Great American Race 2 weeks ago. You can kind of risk a little bit now and try and go for a 2nd or a 3rd win to solidify yourself a spot in this season's chase for the championship. And one thing that I've learned from drivers last season and the season before, including this season, is they want to win early and often, so that way they have that monkey off their back. The fact that, oh, well, if you end up having just 1 win, then you might not make the chase for the championship. Or you got no wins, you're not going to make the chase. You know, these guys, they want to get these wins as quickly as they can, as often as they can, so that way they're able to go into the next few races and maybe just utilize them as some races to maybe learn some techniques, plan some strategy for some of the races that they'll be encountering during the chase. You know, these drivers, they want to be able to look ahead without anything blocking their way, no clouded vision. Right now, I think that's what Trent Dunham's trying to do, but he's got his teammate Seth Cole right behind him, and Seth Cole hasn't won this season. He wants to put his name in the hunt for this chase. And you got to wonder, if he does get to the back bumper here and is able to make a challenge, how hard will Seth Cole race Trent Dunham, or vice versa? How hard will Trent Dunham race Seth Cole? Because remember, Dunham's got to win. Would he end up giving some leniency to his teammate? At the line, they are nose to tail, and here comes Seth Cole taking a peek to the inside. Not able to do it this time. That's what's so difficult about Las Vegas, is there are there are several, I should say, different braking lanes, and to each his own. Some drivers like to brake early to be able to get back into the throttle sooner. Some drivers like to drive it in deep and then kind of arc it and get into the brake just a little bit later than others, and that sometimes is what causes problems here and makes it so difficult to pass. And right here, I think we can see safely that Seth Cole likes to drive it in a little bit harder maybe than Trent Dunham does, but Dunham takes away the racing line from Seth Cole to be able to make any kind of a move. There again, you saw Seth Cole have to kind of tap the brake in order to avoid running into the back of his teammate. And with that being said, these two playing kind of a bit of cat and mouse. It's allowing John Cittadino, the pole sitter, to reel them back in. Speaking of reeling, that's something that 4th place has to do. Dillon Poteet now up to that 4th position. But they are quite a ways back from these top 3. Almost a full 2.5 seconds right now. From 3rd place Cittadino back to Dillon Poteet in 4th. Keep in mind, too, we ended up having some strategy played by some drivers last week. Johnny Gardner, Trent Dunham, Charles Sanford, where they came down pit road during the cycle green flag pit stops a couple of laps earlier than everybody else. It was allowing them to get fresher rubber. They turned faster lap times, and all 3 of them finished up inside the top 10 when none of them were inside the top 10 at the point that the green flag pit stops began. So will we see strategy like that take place if we go into a long green flag run and encounter green flag pit stops here at Las Vegas? Certainly not nearly the kind of racing that we saw at Auto Club. Auto Club, we saw them racing 3-4 wide quite a bit of that race. Not necessarily at the front, but mid-pack. The whole field really is spread out and almost single file right now. Trent Dunham, Seth Cole, John Cittadino all single file, and then if we jump back to 4th place, Dillon Poteet all by his lonesome, and then it's a single file train behind him with Washer, Collard, Jones. Then behind them, you got Austin LaPlante, Chris Dollerton, and James Silverfox. They are all running single file. There's really no battling for position going on at the current moment. Here's a battle. This is for, I believe, the 25th position. Ryan Acosta trying to take it away from Joshua Michaels. And it looks like he will succeed in doing so. Pichu London now going to follow in line along with Anthony McCurry as Michael's starting to free fall back through the field in the BMW. Just lost 26th place to Pichu London. And then there's some battling back here. These are guys that are kind of desperate right now. They're mired back in traffic and not really going anywhere. Rookie DJ Curtis, Charles Jackson, his teammate, Sean Henley, Zach Buchanan, Brandon Gonzalez, Lyndon Wright. A lot of drivers that actually started at the rear of the field and kind of been trapped back there due to their poor qualifying runs. I mean, one person that this really hurts is that guy right there, Johnny Gardner, right now scored in 32nd position. He's had 2 solid outings in the start of the season, but right now, not looking good, and he comes into this race 5th in the point stands. This is certainly not what he needs. Another driver that's been hurt as well, Lyndon Wright, as he's mired way back here. He's, I think, somewhere around 37th. That's exactly where he's running. And he comes into this race 7th in the point standings. So 2 drivers really going to need something to go their way, and they may have to rely on pit strategy to be that very thing. You see Levi McIntyre, apparently he and Tim Walsh still up to speed. Battle on for the lead. Seth Cole now finally getting a nose to the inside of his teammate. It looks like Trent Dunham not really, well, I was going to say not willing to put up much of a fight, but he's going to try and get the run off of turn 2 on the high side. Seth Cole going to crowd his teammate up there, and the last thing that they want to do is wreck each other for sure. But both of them are pretty much thinking towards the same thing, and that's putting their name in the hat for a chase spot. Now, Trent Dunham already has his name in that hat because of his win at Daytona, but he'd love to be able to solidify himself a spot, because if you can get 2 or especially 3 wins, you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to be battling for the championship once the chase field is compiled. Another thing that these guys are trying to do is they're trying to continue on Twinex Racing's streak. Right now, 3 Twinex drivers inside of the top 4. Cole in first, Dunham in second, and then John Cittadino separating them from their third teammate, Dylan Poteet, in the 31. 2 of those drivers already have visited Victory Lane this season. So Seth Cole wants to be the third. And then you got some other drivers back there that want to get up here, put their names into the bid. Chris Washer's BMW. Joshua Collard, who actually had a really solid run last week at Auto Club. He actually finished outside the top 10. I think it was like top 15 at Daytona. So he's been on a good streak. So running very well in the 6th position right now is the DeWalt Tools Ford. I'll tell you one guy that's nice to see run in the top 10. He's dropped back. He started 2nd. He's now back to 10th. But Austin LaPlante, we documented how he's just had a terrible start to the season. And for him to be running inside the top 10 right now and not behind the wall at this point, that's just a great thing for that 43 team. Both of the Richard Petty Motorsports drivers doing very well right now. But it is all Chevy at the front. Top 4 spots swept away by the Chevrolet team. BMW in 5th. And then you got 3 Fords in the top 10, 6th, 9th, and 10th, with 7th and 8th comprised of Michael Norman Motorsports Chevrolets, Bob Jones, and Chris Dullerton. Let's try and find some other drivers that come in running well in the point standings, see where they're currently situated. How about the guy that's coming in trying to chase down Trent Dunham for the points lead? That would be Charles Sanford in the 03. There he is, currently in the 17th position. Sanford came into this race 6 points behind Trent Dunham. Sanford looking for his first win of the season. Right now, as we said, mired in traffic, following in the tire tracks of Dillon Young, who is following in the tire tracks of Austin Mongold. Mongold right now running ahead of DJ Curtis, so if they were to finish this way, Mongold would actually by 1 point take the points lead over for the Rookie of the Year honors. Mongold actually, if I'm not mistaken, got Rookie of the Race award last week at Auto Club, so it would be his 2nd straight Rookie of the Race win. DJ comes in with a 4-3 point advantage in today's race. And LaPlante is steadily losing more positions. Just lost 3 more. 1 to Michael Norman, 1 to Kyle Matthews, and 1 to Dougie Shears. So LaPlante is dropping back. but certainly running a lot better than he was running before. Speaking of Michael Norman, there he is. Just cracked the top 10, did Michael. Finished runner-up last week to Dillon, Poteet, and Norman comes into this race 8 points behind Trent and Dunham. He's had a very solid start to the season, and right now continuing it on, bringing Kyle Matthews along with him, who also had a strong run last week. Running the same car, I do believe, that same 3M Chevrolet. He had a great setup at Auto Club, and I guess they brought that same setup here to Las Vegas. That's 3rd and 6th in the standings right there, running in 10th and 11th place. Dougie Shears right there behind them in 12th. Comes into this race 8th in the point standings, so a solid run for him. So a lot of drivers, Dunham, Sanford, Norman, Collard, Matthews, Shears, Poteet. It's, I think, 7 drivers out of the top 10 in points running right now inside of the top 20. The lowest running Sanford in 17th. There's Dollarton. It's a good run for Dollarton right now. Chris Dollarton comes into this race 27th in the point standings, and nice to see him running well here. Dollarton's been really trying to learn the ropes again. Didn't exactly have the best of seasons last year, and doing a little bit better this season. And right now, 8th place where he's running. This would be a very good points day for that Whataburger Chick-fil-A team out of Michael Norman Motorsports. There's Chris Washer, 2-time winner last season. Both his wins, I do believe, came at super speedways. So he knows how to win at fast tracks, but he didn't win last year on a speedway track. So right now running in the 7th position. This is a good run for him. And I'm trying to see where Washer came into today's race. It looks like he came into this race outside of the top 35. I'm not certain if that's the case. Hang on, let me just look it over real quickly. And I think that must be the case. Oh, pit stops. Just saw Bob Jones duck down to pit road. As Seth Cole continues to lead now by a huge margin. And here comes Jones. So Jones kind of using the strategy of last week, this week, one of the few drivers to hit pit road first. Oh, trouble! There was a car around there on the front straightaway, and there's going to be a big wreck. Jessica Shelton gets spun, and did they all avoid her? They all avoided her. Shelton spins on the front straightaway, and everyone was able to get by the spinning Napa Chevrolet. I don't know how we didn't have more drivers involved. Her car slid down into the grass, back up into traffic, and everyone was able to avoid. From what I could tell, it looked like the contact was between her and Pichu London. But wow, that was another bullet that we just dodged here. And Seth Cole's going to be the leader under yellow, but these drivers are now going to come to an open pit road. So this could play into the favor of Bob Jones, perhaps, unless all those guys are going to get caught a lap down. I don't know what the case is going to be here. They may end up being on the tail end of the lead lap, stuck behind the pace car. Very untimely caution if that's the case for those drivers. Cold Alley was another I saw coming to pit road. There were about maybe, I would say, 8 to 10 drivers who hit pit road on that lap. And it may not work out in their favor. A very untimely caution, perhaps, is Seth Cole going to hit the pit lane. I'm not even going to bother to go to pit lane camera number 1. Well, actually, we might do that. It's not a very good camera angle, to be sure. But we'll go to it anyway. Shows you the race off of pit road, but you don't really get to see what's going on. My speculation is everyone's taking 4 tires. Seth Cole is first off. Then Trent. I think Poteet just beat out Collard. Silver Fox, Cittadino, Matthews, Dollarton. Then it was Washer, and I believe Charles Sanford just came out in the 10th position. So everybody going to complete their pit stops here. But Seth Cole was the first one off. Now's the question of, will the drivers that pitted the lap earlier when pit road was closed, are they going to be on the tail end of the lead lap behind the pace car in front of the leaders, or are they going to be able to cycle around? I think our answer was just given right there. Look at that line in front of them. This is going to be one interesting restart. But let's take a look at the reason the caution came out for the second time today, just when these drivers were starting to have to consider green flag pit stops, and a couple of them were actually coming to pit road for their green flag pit stops. Wait a minute. We got trouble on the 09 of Zach Buchanan. What's going on with him? I think he might be out of fuel. Oh, there's some damage on the back of his machine. Something tells me he might not have been able to make a pit stop, and he might have had to come back around and ran out of fuel in the process. Unless his fuel tank ended up getting hit. Boy, I don't know what happened there to the Golden Corral Chevrolet either. Looks like Pichu London gets a little bit tight off of 4. And he's just going to get up into Jessica Shelton's left rear. Turns Shelton down to the grass. I was wondering if maybe the 25 was trying to get to pit road, and the 22 was underneath her and got turned that way, but no, not the case. She's going to nose it up into the outside safer barrier to Shelton, and then here's where it's absolutely amazing that everybody avoids. Look at this. We've got Zach Buchanan that jumps up high to avoid, and boy, cannot believe that we didn't have somebody hit her. I think, honestly, if we hadn't had that group of drivers come to pit road, more than likely Jessica Shelton would have been hit, but there were a number of drivers that hit pit road that time, and so there wasn't as many drivers that had to avoid the spinning Jessica Shelton. But Shelton at the time was running in the 18th position, so that's certainly a tough break for her. Don't know how significant the damage is. She did nose it pretty hard into that outside safer barrier. So we get ready to go back to green. Field has been given the indication one more lap until we do go back to green flag racing. This race has already broken this season's record for most cautions. We have hit 2 cautions here at Las Vegas. We only had 1 at Auto Club, 1 at Daytona. When we get the green flag, it'll be a total of 8 laps remaining in today's race. And it's certainly going to be crazy up here at the front because of that whole timing of that caution flag. The drivers who came to pit road on that lap that the yellow came out have been trapped behind the pace car on the tail end of the lead lap. And it's going to be even more difficult for the leaders, Seth Cole, Trent Dunham, Dillon, Poteet, Joshua Collard, James Silverfox, to maneuver their way around these guys, because these are not slower cars up ahead. These are cars that are up to speed. So here we go. Let's see what's going to happen. Green flag is back out. All the cars up ahead of these guys are on the tail end of the lead lap. We're watching the battle for the lead and potential win. It's Twinex Racing 1, 2, 3. And it looks like Trent Dunham's going to go immediately to the inside on his teammate Seth Cole for the position. James Silverfox looking underneath the Dillon Poteet. That was for 3rd. There's John Citadino working underneath of Joshua Collard for the 5th position. Trent Dunham continuing to lead this race now. Made very short work of Seth Cole, who has already fallen back to the 3rd position. Actually, he's fallen back to 6th. Joshua Collins and John Citadino have gotten around him. Trent Dunham looking for his 2nd win of the season. Dillon Poteet doing the same. 2 former winners from this season are running 1st and 2nd. Both of them want the same thing. They want a 2nd win early on this season to basically clinch themselves up a spot in this season's chase. They're teammates, so how hard are they going to race each other? Then you got drivers like James Silverfox and Joshua Collard and John Citadino, the pole sitter, behind them, wanting to as well get to victory lane for the first time this season. Can they catch up and get by these guys? Now, if you're Dillon Poteet, do you play defense for your teammate Trent Dunham? Make sure that none of those guys behind you are going to get up there and challenge for the win. Or do you pick your moment and go for the win yourself? It's going to be interesting to see how these 2 friends, Poteet and Dunham, race each other for this victory. Laps are ticking down. Doesn't look like the cars that were ahead of them, because of that untimely caution, are going to be much of a factor. Levi McIntyre, who I believe is the last car in the lead lap, is about 4 or 5 car lengths ahead of Trent Dunham and is up to speed. He actually pulled away a little bit from Trent Dunham, so there is not going to be any of that factoring into this win, I do not believe. And I think, yeah, there are 2 cars that are a lap down. Jessica Shelton, I believe, has actually taken her car behind the wall. And Zach Buchanan, the official word on him was that he did indeed have some contact made on pit road. It forced him past his pit stall. Then he couldn't make it around on fuel. The next lap around is Dillon Poteet going to try the inside line for the lead. Trent Dunham was hanging pretty tough on the outside line, but Dillon Poteet might be able to get here at the stripe. He does, and Dillon Poteet's going to clear Trent Dunham. Timed it perfectly, and he's going to the front with 2 to go. Almost reminiscent of the move he made on Michael Norman last week at Auto Club, but now he's got James Silverfox breathing down his neck. Can Dillon Poteet hang on, or is James Silverfox going to make a move here? Joshua Collard still in the mix as Dunham slips back to 4th. He might lose that spot to John Cittadino as Charles Sanford's worked his way up to 6th. White flag in the air. One more time around, Dillon Poteet looking for back-to-back victories and a slot in this season's chase for the championship. James Silverfox going to drive it hard into 3, you can bet. And he's got a drafting partner right now. Aerodynamics come into play a little bit here if you can make a run. Joshua Collard, will he go with Silverfox? Silverfox pulls away, closes on Poteet, but he's still about 2 car lengths back. And Dillon Poteet, for the 2nd straight week, will go to victory lane. He's going to win here today at Las Vegas. And Dillon Poteet, this early on in the season, folks, may have just clinched himself a spot in the final Snickers Cup Series chase for the championship. Twinex Racing dominance continues in the Snickers Cup Series. 3 for 3 this season with a Twinex driver going to victory lane. And Dillon Poteet, who went winless last season, definitely coming to life at the beginning of this season. And man, oh man, Dillon Poteet, 2nd straight victory this year. And there's almost no doubt about it, because of that 2nd win, we will be seeing Dillon Poteet representing Twinex Racing in this season's chase for the championship. Like I said, drivers wanting to get the monkey off their back, the pressure of having to make the chase for the championship as early on in the season as they can, and Dillon Poteet just did it today. James Silverfox going to finish in 2nd. He had a great run at Daytona, somewhat mediocre finish at Auto Club, but a great runner-up spot here today at Las Vegas. Joshua Collard keeps up his consistency, a great run for him, so he'll stay probably in the top 5 in points. And Trent Dunham, he was not able to hold off his teammate for this victory, but he is still going to keep the points lead. Another solid run for him here today with a top 5 in 4th. Charles Sanford, that was a driver that kind of made a comeback here. Sanford, who comes in 6 points behind Trent Dunham, 2nd in the standings. Solid run for him in 5th. John Cittadino gets 6th. How about Kyle Matthews? Another great run for him. Guy who came in 6th in points. He'll finish 7th. Seth Cole's going to finish in 8th. Chris Washer 9th. And Cody Lamas again continues to pop himself up into the top 10. That's his 2nd top 10 this season. Finished top 10 at Daytona and here today at Las Vegas. We had 2 drivers finish out of the race, Zach Buchanan and Jessica Shelton. One driver didn't even get scored and finished out of the race. That was Sean Galligan. Blew up before we even got to the green flag. But Dillon Poteet picks up win number 2. What a great victory for that team, winning early in this season. And Twinex Racing continues their dominance. They have won all 3 of the first races here in Season 10. Next week, though, things take a bit of the turn to the right as we get ready to go to our first road course stop. Very early on in the schedule, Watkins Glen. That'll be very interesting. Watkins Glen, normally a race that we run after the All-Star race, but nope, changing up the schedule a little bit, and they'll be going to the Glen here for race number 4. So back to the East Coast we go. Hope you guys will tune in for that race. That should be an awfully interesting race as well, and we'll see if Twinex Racing can continue their dominance there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's race from Las Vegas, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. Here comes your official full finisher results, your rookie points, and your overall points heading into next week, as you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA offline racing at its best. Goodbye from Las Vegas.
Lick his ears. Think he's good. He doesn't know you. Where you going?